What would a modern Chrono Trigger remake look like? This game was a big hit 30 years ago, and many are wondering why Square Enix hasn't yet put it out on a mega hit platform like the Nintendo Switch. Today, we're going to discuss what Square Enix might do to craft this game with 30 years of respect for the original. Many have asked, wow, can you imagine what Chrono Trigger would look like in 3D? I have the answer. It would look exactly like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The real question is, what should Square Enix do if they do anything with this IP? My take is that Square Enix has been playing with HD 2D graphics ever since the early previews of Octopath Traveler, and they should use that art style again. Yes, you can look at beautiful games like Dragon Quest XI that even uses Akira Toriyama's art in 3D, but I still think that HD 2D style would be beautiful. You want to remind players of the old days rather than replace those memories with something new. Now, most of what I'm going to say here is old news. Square Enix has already hit home runs on this in the past when they released two different Octopath Traveler games that had excellent voice acting, and Chrono Trigger should follow in that suit. There's just one problem. According to the player, Chrono doesn't say a thing in the original game. Yes, of course, in the game he communicates with his friends non-verbally, but he's actually a silent protagonist. The idea is that if the main character in the game doesn't speak, then the player fills that role, and we as the player better connect with what's going on in the game. Link from the Zelda series does the exact same thing. Interestingly, Nintendo is careening towards this issue in their own world. A new live-action Zelda movie is coming out in 2027, and at some point, we will hear Link's actual voice. As such, everyone in the Chrono Trigger remake should speak except for Chrono. Not much to really say here. They already have an incredibly beautiful soundtrack from Yasunori Mitsuda and Nobuo Uematsu, and they should just re-record that. And we're good to go. It's a remake, and I also think that with such a timeless soundtrack, we should have more and more classic concerts in Japan, Europe, and North America. We want to take our geeky friends to hear these beautiful concerts. When it comes to storyline, again, the challenge here is simple. The game developer knows that if you remake a game and don't add anything new to the story, the players may just look at the old game and say, why bother? As such, the developers will try to add something fun and new to the new game, in addition to dozens and dozens of quality of life improvements. My fear is that storylines will expand immensely, and they'll do exactly what they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Take a short game, expand it to a 50-hour experience, and leave the player base slightly annoyed that you went to all that trouble and all that time with a beloved franchise. Chrono Trigger, the original game, can be polished off in about 10 to 15 hours. If this remake ever comes out, it should be a beautiful yet concise experience. Now, I want to talk about a few reasons why this game may never see the light of day. One of the reasons why this game may never come out is because Square Enix is terrified that they'll do what they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Remake a game with beautiful graphics and kind of screw up the story. I know there are millions of Final Fantasy fans out there, but many of them are kind of irked that Square Enix changed up or reinterpreted the story. The bottom line is that the expectations of Chrono Trigger are insanely high, and the risk that you ruin something great may just freeze Square Enix entirely. Lest we forget, these game developers are businesses first and players second. Remember when Super Mario RPG came out and everyone was bouncing off the walls for a few days? It sold over 3 million units. Great, but not mind-blowing. Metroid Prime Remastered came out with beautiful graphics. It was shadow dropped and 1 million units were sold. Star Ocean, another beautiful RPG, came out with beautiful HD 2D graphics, and it, didn't sell at all. Nobody bought it. Yes, the Chrono Trigger remake should come out on a range of platforms to maximize sales, but I'm just not sure what kind of sales it will get. It's a gift to my generation, the old guys, not the current generation of gamers. Maybe cracking out another Kingdom Hearts game is more worth their time. It's funny, when we started this video, I mentioned that we should remind players of the good old days. But if you never touched Chrono Trigger or its sequel, Chrono Cross, maybe there's just not a big enough market for this game. Let's go back to the 1990s and discuss Akira Toriyama's impact. His art defined the 90s, and when Chrono Trigger came out with the then state-of-the-art graphics, but also a charming story, it completely won us over. This game was one of the last RPGs Square made for the SNES. 2 years later, they rocked the world with Final Fantasy VII. As you may know, sadly, Akira Toriyama passed away from a blood clot in March 2024 at 68 years old. Out of respect for the master, I just don't know what Square Enix is thinking behind the scenes. Yes, there are hundreds of pieces of existing artwork that we have from the SNES game that can be reused and put into this game. There may be a part of Japanese culture that says, we do not wish to use the master's work after his passing. Perhaps this is the one thing that really kills this remake. Only time will tell. It's kind of funny, in today's video I took some shots at Final Fantasy VII Remake, but mostly because it was always a dream that fans had. It had been discussed forever, and the announcement of the game came in 2015, with the game being released in 2020. It was the first of its kind, a remake where a single game would be expanded into 3 blockbuster titles, akin to The Hobbit, a 300-page story being squeezed into 3 big-budget movies, largely unsuccessfully. If you want to know my biggest fear, that's it. You know what Square Enix can do? Release Chrono Trigger, the original version, in widescreen mode for all 3 platforms, and be done with it. If they do decide to remake the game with gorgeous HD 2D graphics and possibly tying up some loose ends in the story, I'll be there on day 1.